Three, two, one. What's happening, guys? This is Logan Robinson from Here the Spear, presented to you by NoleGameday.com. We're here on a live, wonderful, sort of not great, fantastic. It can't be wonderful and fantastic anymore, gentlemen. It's not great anywhere in the state of Florida State football and hurricanes hitting, natural disasters. Like, I feel like we get on here every time now. We're just preparing for a storm, and one just hit. But here we are, and Florida State lost another game, and this time maybe keeping it closer than we might have first thought. Interested to hear what Dustin says here as he was in attendance there in Doak Campbell Stadium. But we're going to give our thoughts on that game. Brock Glenn, give a full discussion on him and what we thought about, his play in this game, the future, what it could look like with him. Also, some more younger guys getting involved in that game as well. We're going to talk what Mike Norvell said afterward. Then we're going to talk some NFL Noles. We're going to build an NFL parlay since Florida State is on a bye week this week. So we're just going to jump in and build an NFL parlay for you guys. And after that, that's going to be it for this show. Going to be kind of a faster and quicker one this evening. But with me this evening is Austin Veazey, our lead basketball writer and football guy. And down below is Dustin Lewis, our editor-in-chief at NG. Gentlemen, how we doing?
It's good to be back. Middle of the season, guys. We finally made it. Feels like it's been 14 weeks.
I need these next 6 to hurry up.
They need to fly by for you?
They need to go. I don't care where. They just need to go.
They need to hurry up. They need to hurry up a little bit. Nah, gentlemen, I got to say, though, that was a fun NFL Sunday right there, all around practically. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch a lot of the games, but
I did.
Beautiful week of NFL.
Because the Vikings were playing at 9:30 in the morning. So I was up all day watching football. But hey, Vikings 5-0. Who would have seen this coming?
Right there, the Chiefs. Who would have ever?
It's making up for FSU being terrible. It really is.
Yeah. No, I wish I could have said the same. I could have said this was the best week of college football I've seen in years, but the Steelers decided to blow it there, and
not only did they blow it, the game was delayed an hour and a half because of lightning.
Yeah,
and then didn't end until what was it, 1:30 in the morning, 1 a.m. The day after, we were up until 2:30 in the morning watching that Miami Cal collapse. So it was just a long weekend of football.
It was very long, and just to start a Monday and a week off like that, and staying up till 1 o'clock because you got to read the Reddit, you got to read what everybody's saying about your team and everything, seeing if it's just catastrophic and everything's falling apart. My situation, I've got Russell Wilson and I've got Justin Fields, who could be the quarterback now, what's happening. So yeah, it was a long night, but now you get prepped for a hurricane and everything. So that's what sucks about, all this kind of stuff. You get, the Bucks here also traveling over to New Orleans, and we're on the ground here covering them, but can't travel there really. And, our guy River, I don't know what his game plan is for that, but just puts us all in just got to do what you got to do and take care of business at home first. That's what matters the most. So, but yeah, good day of football. Before we get started, as always, you can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. If you're on YouTube right now, hit the like button. Deeply appreciate it. Thanks for all the new subscribers and viewers hanging out with us. But make sure you hit that sub button so that every time you get notified, we release a new episode. Gentlemen, Florida State is 1-5 on the season, which is just kind of crazy to say and think about as we were previewing this season. Doesn't feel too long ago right now at this point, but Florida State, 1 win on the season against I don't think a great Cal team. This team had some showing of life, I think, during this Clemson game, kept it closer than we thought, but still just not a good football team. And just a lot of the rankings that they're in are dreadful to kind of look at and definitely embarrassing. But Florida State scores 13 points, Clemson 29. D-Lou, you're on hand. You weren't able to be with us on the instant reaction. Obviously, you're at the presser. What was just want to go straight to Mike Norvell real quick and get your thoughts on the game after that. What was anything new from Mike, or kind of the same repetitive stuff? I know he talked about Brock Glenn, which we'll talk about here further as well.
Yeah, I mean, for one thing, I just thought it was kind of weird. Brock obviously had a pretty solid performance overall, and he wasn't helped out very much by the players around him, whether that be the skill guys dropping passes or the offensive line, allowing a ton of pressures. So like when he was asked about Brock's performance, it was kind of weird how he didn't kind of heap the praise that we've seen him put on DJ throughout when DJ was struggling um, in the aftermath of some of those losses. So that was a little bit weird to me. And then he was asked about Amari and Landon, and said that they both need to continue improving, essentially. And I mean, complimented them as well, but it was just kind of weird, because we have seen that defense of DJ and of Kyle Morlock, and he had a chance to kind of just offer these guys a lot of praise, and it was kind of a mixed answer to those questions. So, it's a little bit different than what we've seen in some of these other press conferences where he hasn't been as or where he's been more guided, I guess. And this one, I felt like he was definitely open and to the point.
I think to me, whenever he's doing this, it's got to be that he feels almost disappointed in himself and a little embarrassed maybe that some of these younger guys are making bigger plays and finding better strides than what they had all cemented everything on, and putting some of these veterans out there like Kyle Morlock, someone I think that Kyle Morlock and DJ are in that same boat to me, where you just kept on putting them out there, and probably saw some good things in practice, but then on Saturdays, they're not good Saturday players. And Florida State's got to find good Saturday players, but I think he's kind of a little, embarrassed of himself, and kind of the ego part comes in as a coach, and you want to have those guys do well when you get to game days, but they're just not doing it. And, that's what I kind of get the demeanor after listening to the interview, D-Lou.
Yeah, and I mean, at the same time, the other players are listening to these interviews as well, and Mike made sure, when he was talking about Brock, getting towards the end of that answer, he also made sure to bring up Luke and to mention how Luke has been preparing and how happy he is with that. So, I mean, you kind of have a little give and take with some of these answers, if you will. But, again, today at practice, Amari Williams had a great day out there, and Mike offered him a lot of praise, and Elijah Moore. So Florida State, they've got to start making these transitions, to these younger players. And we started to see that against Clemson. Obviously, Brock making that start, but Landon Thomas and Amari Williams both outsnapped Kyle Morlock. And then you had Andre Otto making that start in there at guard. Jalen Early didn't start, but he got in the rotation some. Obviously, the young guys are running back. So we're starting to kind of see that transition a little bit on offense. And, just like we mentioned on the podcast last week, you've seen those changes throughout the season on defense, where some of these younger guys are getting more and more involved. Obviously, KJ Kirkland making those starts. So you're finally starting to see that turnover, and I'm wondering if this bye week will be enough to continue pushing it in that direction for FSU.
Question here from Stan, our guy Stan, listening. Can you guys break down what is going on with the running game? We'll definitely get into that in just a few, I'm sure, because me and VZ spent a good amount of time talking about that offensive line and what it works with that offensive line. The running game, it is bad, but we'll definitely get to that in this episode.
It's historically bad. And Mike Norvell, sorry, just before you go forward,
no, you're good.
Mike Norvell, after practice today, he even called the running game embarrassing. And, normally he doesn't go that far when it comes to criticism, especially publicly. But, I mean, he flat out called it what it is. And, yeah, we can get into some of these stats because, man, they are downright nasty.
I don't know if we really want to, but it will put you in kind of utter shock when you see them, like I've seen on social media, and when you're checking in on stuff. It kind of just like, what? How is this even possible from winning undefeated regular season last year, and then you're at a 1-5 state? And when you're at a 1-5 state, and just how bad the football team is, it's not like these were close games and just nail biters and one score does it. These were destroying kind of games and not really fun to watch, and on both sides, most certainly the offensive side. But D-Lou, go ahead and run us your thoughts through this game with Brock Glenn getting the start. Got to see Doak Campbell Stadium. It seemed a little bit more filled than I was expecting. It sounded good on television. Seemed like the student section brought it, and seemed like there was a lot of good energy, which you like to see. And there's probably a lot of that was because of the excitement of getting to see another quarterback at the helm. But we're gonna have a deeper discussion on Brock Glenn, but just overall thoughts on this game and your pros and cons.
Well, look, let's be honest. Florida State, they got soundly dominated in this game against Clemson. It looks nice on the scoreboard. Well, I mean, not so nice, but not as bad as it could have looked. 29-13. But Florida State, obviously blocked a couple of those field goals, and you look at the yardage. I mean, 2-1, 500 yards for Clemson on offense. They're able to do practically whatever they wanted all night, and just 250 for Florida State. So once again, under that 300-yard mark, and now we're at 9 straight games dating back to last season. So that's quite a streak for FSU. And, you had the interception. That was as we heard after the game, a miscommunication between Hakeem and Brock on that route. You had 7 penalties, some in crucial moments. The one from Andre Otto that called back that really electric play from Malik Benson on a really good pass from Brock Glenn over there on the sideline where he made that toe tap catch. So it was just disappointing once again. You look at the offense, and I will say it looked better than what we've seen in a lot of games this season. But still, you go 3 and out on 6 of 11 drives. Now, some of those drives you were able to put together. It looked good in the moment. And, I thought Brock Glenn and, Austin, you noted his PFF grade earlier on, over 80, the highest on FSU's roster in this loss to Clemson, and the highest that we've seen by a quarterback since late in the middle of last year for Jordan Travis. Can't remember exactly which one. Austin, maybe you can figure that out. But either way, it seemed like a good performance from Brock Glenn. A lot of those throws, they were on target. And as I said before, he wasn't helped out by his skill players. PFF credited FSU with 4 drops in this game. And it honestly, it felt like more in the moment. And now FSU, the highest drop percentage in the FBS. So, what we talked about last week, it kind of rang to be true. No matter which quarterback you put back there, it doesn't matter if the pieces on offense aren't performing around the quarterback. Now, Brock did a lot off schedule, and he made some plays regardless of those guys not helping him out. You think back to that 4th down scramble in the 4th quarter. I mean, that takes some grit, some moxie there for him to go and get that. And, I'll be honest, DJ would never have a chance of converting.
You don't have to be honest.
Like that. And
that's the truth. You don't have to be honest with this. That's
another
Glenn too, looking at the pylon. I don't know if you saw it. Don't know if he's there yet. He actually looks over and checks the pylon. And while he's got a defender coming right for him, that's just called grit. And you're doing it for the school. You have some pride in yourself, but keep going on.
It was a nice play, but you kind of made me lose my train of thought there. But FSU's offense, they were able to get some stuff going, those 2 touchdown drives. You had that drive in the 3rd quarter that got off to a promising start, but then you shoot yourself in the foot there. So I think Florida State, they definitely have something to work with here with Brock Glenn. We were looking for that offensive spark, and even though FSU did not win this game, you did see some signs that maybe they can find something here moving forward. And the running game is absolutely going to have to improve. But with what Brock Glenn can do through the air, I think now you're looking at the back half of the schedule and you're like, now we can probably be competitive in that Duke game. We're going to have a shot to win against North Carolina, Charleston Southern. You should win that game. And then Florida, you should have a shot there. Miami, anything can kind of happen in a rivalry game. So now you're kind of looking and you're like, all right, we've got a little bit more of a chance than maybe I thought we did prior to this Clemson game. And, you heard from Brock after the game. And I mean, the way he played during the game, he showed a lot of passion. He was very vocal out there. That's what you're looking for from your quarterback. And to me, whenever he was doing that type of stuff, you saw the guys around him start to play even harder. And I think at the beginning of the game, he got knocked down and there was only one offensive lineman that came over to help him up off the ground. And by the end of the game, some of these times that he was going down, whether it be in the backfield or on some of these runs, the offensive line, they were running over there to pick him up. Like, you really saw these guys fighting for Brock Glenn. And even in the post-game press conference on the defensive side of the ball, Omar Graham Jr., mentioned how confident he was in Glenn. So that was just that was impressive to see the way that the players responded to that. And you've got to hope that FSU can just build off this moment moving forward, even though it came in a loss.
Okay, so real quick, let me interject. Brock Glenn's PFF rating for the game was 83.5. Jordan Travis only had one game all of last season that was better, and that was the Duke game where he had an 84.4. He was a lot better in the 2022 season. He had, I think, 3 games in the 90s, but you can make the argument that was the best the quarterbacks played in 2 years. And it wasn't necessarily helped by his stats because, Florida State's receivers were credited with 4 drops. It felt a lot more than that. He was pressured a handful of times, but he played about as well as you could ask for a redshirt freshman.
That didn't get any experience earlier this season in a game.
And no help from his running attack. I mean,
No,
it was on Brock Glenn to make the plays.
Yeah. Now that's what I'm adding to all this. Yes, there's going to be, not everything is just great for Brock. I can sit here and glaze him and do all that kind of stuff, but like just the circumstances that he had to deal with, like you got to talk about him. I mean, he was going through hell with that offensive line. Like you just said, no run game help, and you had to make plays on the fly and had some really good throws. Veazey said he thinks that was the best throw of the season, going to Amari Williams over those two defenders. I thought that was damn impressive. And those are things, though, D-Lou, you were talking about us and spring and fall camp where he'd be in the red zone and he'd be able to make those plays. And the thing is, though, you're seeing it translate on Saturdays where DJ, that can happen in practices, but we don't see that in games on Saturdays at all, D-Lou.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the things that we talked about last week, translating what happens in practice over to these game days. And, you can see one thing in practice, but if it's not showing up on Saturday, eventually you've got to try something else, because clearly there's some type of disconnect there between the practice field and game day, whether that's mental or some type of other issue. And, now we're kind of seeing it with FSU. And Mike Norvell said as much. I think he was asked if FSU had considered making a change to Brock from DJ earlier in the season. And, he mentioned the various data points that FSU had to work with leading up to the year and what they saw in practice and, things of that nature. But as we've seen, Brock can go into a game against a top 15 defense and perform. And I think it's even more impressive when you think back to what he looked like last year in the ACC championship against Louisville, then obviously the impossible situation against Georgia in the Orange Bowl. I mean, he was pretty sharp on Saturday, and this Clemson defense, I mean, no joke with what they've been doing to opponents as of late. So this is something that Florida State, they've got to figure out a way to build around Brock here, and whether that's continuing to add in these young pieces around him, whatever you have to do. But I think Mike Norvell and FSU, no matter if DJ is able to come back from this hand injury or not, and we saw him before the Clemson game, pretty hefty rap down there on that throwing hand, and we talked about the report that he has a broken finger on his throwing hand. So even if he's able to return before the end of the season, FSU has to realize it's time to build around Brock. It's time to sprinkle in Luke if they have the opportunities to do so. It's all about the future, full steam at this point. And that's got to be in the backfield, at tight end, along the offensive line, if you can start getting some of these guys in. Obviously, at wide receiver as well. I mean, build up the guys who are going to be here.
D-Lou, me and Veazey were talking about it. There were some reports that we'd see both quarterbacks out there, with Luke also being involved with Brock Glenn. And I was telling Veazey, that would have been the last kind of straw almost there for me with Norvell. I don't think that would have been deserving for Brock to not have a full game and be out there, unless he's up, like Veazey and I were saying, if they're up 45 to something, or they're getting absolutely, bounced, and there's multiple interceptions, 2-3 interceptions from Brock Glenn. He's having a really brutal game. But I know Mike talked about it after the game as well, and there was some thought of having Luke go out there, but felt like pretty comfortable with what Brock was giving them and the offense, which is a good sign to the head coach. But I just still like, probably I think it's a great idea to have your backup ready when you're facing a team like Clemson that's going to bring pressure like they did, and you have a awful offensive line. So you better have both quarterbacks ready. But I wouldn't have been a big fan of them sharing snaps in that game. I think Brock deserved to have a full game under his
Yeah.
belt.
Yeah, I agree with you. It just really wouldn't have made sense to play Luke in that moment simply because of the way that Mike Norvell leashed himself to DJ through those first 5 games. And, then you do make a quarterback change and you decide to put in another guy that quickly. It goes against what we saw from him throughout the season so far. Now, he did talk about after the game and, said that it was something that Florida State thought about and, they've kind of looked into to see if there are different scenarios where they can put him in where, he can help impact the game in a positive way. And, Mike continued to kind of express that sentiment when asked about it again today after Tuesday's practice. So, it wouldn't surprise me at some point, maybe later on in the season, we see a little bit of Luke Kromenhoek. I don't know exactly what that's gonna look like. I don't necessarily see him starting a game over Brock unless Brock ends up going down with an injury, which hopefully that doesn't happen for FSU. But there's certainly a lot of potential there with Luke, and I mean he was pretty damn good out there today during Tuesday. And you're also in this weird kind of situation where you've got a second-year quarterback and you've got a first-year quarterback, and you've got to figure out which one of these guys is going to be the guy of the future. So, Florida State with Brock Glenn now being the starter, and it looks like he's going to get a significant amount of action here before the season is going. That's almost given him a little bit of a potential leg up when you're thinking about a quarterback competition going into next year. So I think Mike is just trying to keep Luke engaged, locked in, continuing to mention him in these press conferences, let him know we're still thinking about you, even though Brock is in there, because you don't want to have some type of fishy situation whenever you get to December. And, I'll be honest, we know how this back channel stuff goes, and you've got these guys putting stuff in other people's ears, and, someone would be like, oh, FSU is not going to start you. They're going to start Brock Lynn. Come here and you can play immediately. I mean, we know how this stuff goes. It's a dirty game now in the transfer portal. So Florida State, they've got to kind of do a little work here on both ends.
Going to some players that definitely impressed us, like you were just talking about, Mari Williams, that grab. I mean, you got to think about it. This kid was converted over to a tight end. This kid in high school was playing defensive end. And
both ways.
Both ways. But now full on, tight end, and look at the grab that he's able to make, and was over 2 defenders. Like that's not an easy grab to have, and never saw that from Kyle Morlock. He was actually, Landon Thomas was the top rated PFF freshman with a 75 rating from this last Saturday. So, that's Landon Thomas, and there's 2 tight ends that have a strong future, it seems like, if they can connect well with Brock Glenn.
Well, there's also 2 tight ends that have more career touchdowns than Kyle Morlock, but that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, it's tough scenes for Morlock right now. Obviously with the drop issues, and then like you said, Austin, Landon Thomas, first career catch, goes for a touchdown. Mari Williams, first career catch, goes for a touchdown. And Kyle Morlock, I think we're up to 20 games at FSU without a touchdown reception. So, I mean, that's just kind of insult to injury. But, man, Amari Williams, yeah, that was a heck of a grab there in the game. And at first I was looking at that, I was like, who just caught that pass? I looked over at Tommy. And, yeah, it ended up being Amari. So that was good for him, especially, we kind of talked about last week him getting into the SMU game and then the pick 6, and he was kind of low from there on the way back. But I thought in this game, he only had that 1 catch. But when he was out there, he was really putting in a lot of effort. And, the thing with Landon Thomas and Amari Williams is that they're just so young in their development and just getting here to the college level that as far as the blocking aspect, it's going to take them some time. But as receivers, they can make splash plays immediately. Landon this game leads the team in receiving, 7 catches for 80 yards, building on top of that performance that we saw against SMU where he scores his first career touchdown. So it seems like both of these guys are moving in the right direction at the moment. And Amari Williams, scores that touchdown against Clemson, and he comes out today on Tuesday and is the star of this practice. I mean, all over the place, jaw-dropping, one-handed catches, deep touchdown catches, contested stuff on the sideline. He was the best player on the field on Tuesday by a mile. I thought he was outstanding. And you just really see that potential. And we got to speak to Amari after practice. And, he said that he's still working some at defensive end during these Sunday practices, which today on Tuesday, this was the first time FSU has practiced since the loss to Clemson. So this was kind of a quote unquote Sunday practice. So we got to see him work a little bit on the defensive side of the ball and one-on-ones early in the day. And then he comes out and does all of that at tight end on the offensive side of the ball. He kind of joked a little bit, and he said he's going to be the next Travis Hunter after practice, playing both ways. We'll see how it goes, because it seems like Florida State, they believe that he does have a future at defensive end. But, I mean, man, with what this kid's doing at tight end, how can you possibly put him over there right now?
Yeah, both of the guys really still have issues getting lined up correctly. You saw it a bunch in the Clemson game where both Amari and Leonard are looking to the sidelines like, I don't know where to be. And then finally they figure it out. But at this point, I'd rather have a freshman
Staff's fault.
I agree with that. I'd rather have a freshman that doesn't know where to be but can catch than have a senior that can't catch and knows where to line up. So they'll learn these things and they'll get better. But at this point, I don't see a reason to not play them.
No, not at all. Let them get out more experience. If they had more experience, and that would help with the lining up and stuff. But you wanted to wait and have Morlock drop his 6th catch to kind of go ahead and try to
Are you sure it's only 6?
But I mean, seriously, if they're able to continue this trajectory right here, we're talking about Florida State looking at a dynamic tight end room in 2025 with Amari Williams and Landon Thomas going into year 2. I mean, remember, Amari just 17 years old, and like Logan said, reclassified to join FSU this year. And he was someone that we talked a lot about in the preseason. He stood out during those preseason practices. And I think even when the first depth chart came out prior to that Georgia Tech game, I was like, man, I'm a little surprised that Amari's not on here somewhere, just because he had been that good. And now you're finally seeing it translate to the field. So the sky is the limit there now for Florida State, a really high ceiling with Landon Thomas and Amari Williams. And if those guys can keep growing in the right direction, it's going to be looking good here for the next couple of years. And currently, we'll see if it sticks to December. You've got 4-star tight end Chase Lofton committed. And, we looked at his highlights back when he pledged to FSU over the summer. He looks like a pretty good receiving threat, someone that could develop into something himself. So, hey, this position, it's looking a lot more fun than it was a couple weeks ago.
You know what's not fun, D-Lou? Is Florida State's offensive line.
God.
We spent 10 minutes on the instant reaction. That was the majority of our instant reaction.
That's it?
Line.
For reference, the entire instant reaction was 18 minutes. So
yeah, it was a majority of it. And there was UFC on that night. Shout out to Poetan, the GOAT, Alex Piera. One of the best. So I had to cut that off kind of earlier, and it's at the end of the day, D-Lou, on the latest instant reactions that you're not involved in. It's practically the same thing over and over and over again. So it was nice to talk about Brock Glenn for majority, and then that was offensive line for the rest. So, but yeah, your thoughts on the offensive line? I mean, there's no development there. You can, we're getting a few questions in here about the run game, but there's a reason why that run game isn't finding success. There's just no kind of offensive line continuity. You've got some younger guys, of course, in there that are getting some reps, like Otto. We've seen, some signs and a lot of playing time from Jalen early this season. But then you're kind of wondering about some other guys that have been around the program as well, like Julian Armella. I think a lot of people, still very young though. But you want to see what
are we sure he's young?
He's not that young.
I'm going on to the next guy. I'm talking about Lucas Simmons, you motherfuckers. Listen in.
I think you need a comma in there somewhere.
Yeah. No. I'm going, baby. I'm rambling. This offensive line is a big discussion there. There's been some wild tweets out there to Coach Atkins. I don't know if y'all been seeing them. There's the fan base.
I think I sent a couple of them.
You sent a couple of them?
I don't know. Maybe
you're gonna get a no luncheon. Not gonna be sitting at our table at the luncheon if that's the case, deal. But yeah, no, I mean, Atkins knows it too. I think he talked today, right, at the presser, and admitted there's some things that they need to go back and review. No shit, Sherlock. There's a lot of things that have got to be fixed. I just don't know how it's going to be fixed. I don't think it's going to be fixed this season, which is scary to think of.
It's not.
the number one thing is development, and there's no kind of development from these younger guys, and that's what is a worrisome. I'm kind of, yeah, we're gonna have a. We think that the season's gonna end. Yeah, we want it done in 6 weeks, but shoot, get ready. We're gonna have a busy. Unless Mike Norvell is crazy loyal, which who knows? We don't know what's gonna happen, but we should have a busy, kind of quick coaching carousel for a lot of these position groups, right? Right?
You would hope.
We'll see.
I don't know, but offensive line. What do you want to say?
He hasn't fired a coach since he's been at FSU. I mean, I guess he technically quietly fired Chris Marv and Marcus Woodson, but he set them up both up with.
Yeah, but say it's not really a firing when you go from a linebackers coach to the defensive coordinator of a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Woodson goes from DB's coach at FSU to DB's coach at a SEC program. So, not really. Well, we'll see. I'm very intrigued, and Forsyth, they got 6 games left to evaluate. I think you definitely have to make some changes, obviously, but to get into the offensive line, it's pathetic, man. And it's something you're at the middle of the season. I mean, they're not going to be able to fix this at this point. Let's be honest. It's not getting fixed. I mean, Darius Washington has taken a huge step back at left tackle. It's insane. Byers also he's regressed. He's been beat up. And, to see him out there at right tackle these last 2 games after we saw what he looked like the 3 weeks prior, in that brace and on the crutches before a couple of those games, I just don't even know if he's fully healthy at the moment. We didn't see Robert Scott enter the game. Keandre Jones did not enter the game. Maurice Smith, some bad snaps there.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Oh, I eliminated those from my brain because I love Mo. I love me some Mo, but
some bad snaps.
And add him to the list of can't help out the true freshman quarterback. You would think those two
redshirt freshman.
I don't care. Just can't help him out. Can't help him out, any man. Come on, just get a little shotgun snap. He's in the same spot. You've been doing it for 5+ years. Come on, man. True freshman quarterback in, gentlemen.
But man, these old guys, they're killing Florida State. And I know Andre Otto had a penalty, but you got to think this is a redshirt freshman in his first career start who honestly probably shouldn't be on the field right now. Richie Leonard being out for the season, the other injuries that FSU is dealing with inside. And, I do wonder, just continuing this discussion, when you kind of look at the offensive line, I'm wondering, why don't we try moving in some of these tackles to guard? Like, Byers starts at right, Darius at left in this last game. And then at one point, Washington gets shifted to right guard. They keep Byers in at right tackle, and they put Early in at left tackle. I think I would rather see it be the opposite. You shift Byers inside to guard, Early to right, keep Darius at left, I guess.
Or heck, no, move both of them inside. Move Darius to left guard, move Byers to right guard, and give me Simmons and Early. Like, just let him play at this point, because we haven't even named the worst offensive lineman. TJ Ferguson stinks. I'll just flat out say he is not good. I don't know if you guys have seen his PFF page.
No, I haven't.
What do you think his highest rated game is for the season?
Highest graded game?
I'd say 58.3.
Lower.
Wow.
No way.
56.2.
That's tough.
Against Boston College is his highest rated game of the season. He's just not good. I don't know. I don't know why he's playing at this point.
He's not fully healthy. I will say that he's been banged up since
I don't care
before the season began. But when you ask why he's playing, it's Richie's out. Keandre, he didn't play in this last game. We'll see what his status is moving forward. And then outside of that, they've got Andre, being a redshirt freshman, a guy who was ranked in the thousands as a prospect in his recruiting class. He's already hopped Armella on the pecking board here. Armella, a redshirt sophomore. And, we're not even mentioning Bryson Estes. Estes, co-starter last week, he
wasn't very good.
But he didn't see the field.
Yeah.
Like, he was a co-starter, and he didn't see the field, even though they made that change at one point. They took Otto out and put Darius at guard before they put in Julian, before they put in Bryson Estes. So I think that should, everyone calling for these other players, that should kind of tell you something.
Yeah, it's pretty telling when these guys aren't playing and DJ Ferguson is playing 68 snaps in one game. That's just this offensive line is not good. It's just not, and I'm very tired of seeing it. Logan and I talked about it on Saturday. This is supposed to be a strength of Florida State, and it's Florida State's biggest weakness. And I don't even think it's close.
No,
it's embarrassing. Yeah, like we talked about. I mean, they were supposed to pave the way for this backfield, and I mean, obviously protect the quarterback. And you're looking at the worst running game in school history, in FSU history. And again, like Mike Norvell in 4 years leading up to this year, he had 7 games, and I mean, how many games per season? It's got to be close to 40 coming into this year. 7 games in 4 years under 100 rushing yards. FSU in 6 games this year, 5 games under 100 rushing yards. And let's make it even worse, because I think I have it pulled up here.
Oh, nice. Let's do it.
The worst rushing game in the Mike Norvell era. Boston College this year, 21 yards. The second worst rushing game in the Mike Norvell era, I guess it's tied for second worst. Clemson this year with 22 yards, and they had 22 yards against Clemson last year, but they somehow won. So, but they didn't win this one.
Hell no.
They didn't win the other 5.
And by the way, since we're talking about running against Clemson was allowing 186 rushing yards per game and 5.5 yards per carry. It's not like they're a good rush defense. And Florida State comes in and gets 23 carries for 22 yards, under 1 yard a carry.
And Brock Lynn even had positive rushing yards.
Yeah. So yeah, you can't blame it on QB sacks. The product just stinks.
And I think Stanford, like you just mentioned, Stanford had over 200 yards against Clemson the week before.
Yeah, the game logs aren't loading for me. I was trying to pull that up, but
obviously FSU's rushing attack was shut down by Memphis, and then the next week, Navy puts over 300-something yards on the Tigers. So it's not like FSU is facing these great rushing defenses. It's just a historically bad rushing attack, and it's the worst in the Power 4. It's the second worst in the FBS, and for something that to be thought a strength that is such a weakness, there was either a major misevaluation here by the coaching staff, or I mean, I don't even know. I mean,
what if they misevaluated the staff? Let's start there.
But it's like you had all these guys before, and you didn't look nearly as bad in 2022 or 2023. So like the regression.
But let's just cut off there. They had Jordan Travis, who cleaned up a lot of these issues,
and Trey Benson.
And Trey Benson, who was a broken tackle machine. I mean,
the machine.
So, like, they were hiding a lot of these issues, and we talked about this last year, where I was like, I don't love how the offensive line is looking. They're not getting their counter assignments right. I didn't think it would be this bad, but the signs of it were there last year. The signs of regression were there, and we somehow underrated how good Trey Benson and Jordan Travis were. I didn't think it was possible to do that, but we did.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be this bad. I mean, it's historically bad, and it just makes no sense when you have all this experience, and obviously Atkins and Norvell here hand in hand in year 5, and there's nothing really. It's kind of unfathomable how bad it has been for Florida State, and there's no really one clear way for it to get better, because it's the entire offensive line that is making mistakes in the moment. And then you talk about wanting to break some of these long gains. That comes down to not just your offensive line, but what are your tight ends doing in the blocking game, which FSU obviously has struggled there. Morlock and Brian Courtney haven't been very good. And, Amari and Landon have to learn, and, they're going to take some lumps there before they get there. And receivers, the blocking game outside has, been horrid. So just around the entire offense, when you're talking about having a successful running attack, you need all of those guys to chip in. But yeah, the offensive line, definitely the worst part of that combination by far.
Like you said, it's bad blocking everywhere. Inside, outside line, fucking wide receivers, tight ends. It's just awful. And like we're seeing the signs of the relapse of not having Trey Benson out there to get away from tackles, and then also Jordan Travis, who, like someone here in the comments saying, was an absolute magician for Florida State the last few years. And you put in Cam Davis, who is going to be the guy that's going to be your most physical back, but you brought in Roydell Williams. He can't get off one tackle to save his life. And then Lawrence Toafili isn't that kind of running back. He was never supposed to be that. You're going to be your guy that can, get him in space and put moves on guys, but it's just, he's not going to be your physical back. Definitely with an offensive line this bad. That's what I got to keep on saying. With the offensive line that's at this case, not like another program where there is a decent offensive line. This is a horrid offensive line. So you just kind of match that with your personnel, and it doesn't fit well. So they got to figure, they're not going to be able to figure it out this year, but there has to be some kind of talk and some offices on what to do moving forward, in my opinion.
Let me just continue to give context to how bad this rushing game is.
Please
grab another beer.
Lawrence Toafili has 230 rushing yards for the season. 151 are after contact. Cam Davis has 68 rushing yards. 64 are after contact. Roydell Williams has 54 yards rushing. 46 are after contact. And then there's DJ Uyunglele, who has -8 yards rushing for the season. 72 rushing yards after contact. I don't even know how that's possible. But this run game's, there's no holes. The defense is getting through constantly. And Norvell's kind of just beating his head on a brick wall saying it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And it's just not happening.
But the problem is, it's like if you turn to some of these young guys, you risk it getting even worse for Brock back there and potentially getting him injured. It kind of says a lot that this is what FSU is rolling with week after week. Instead of turning to some of these other young guys, they're just probably not ready at this moment. I think Otto is the farthest along, and Jalen Early, obviously, but he's the farthest along when you're thinking about Lucas Simmons and Julian Armella and, even some of those other young guys on the team. Like, those are the two guys that are the most ready, which, is also an indictment on the coaching staff for development. And so it's a failure on all fronts for Florida State, and there's no real clear way to fix it, because it's not like I was saying, it's not like a tight end or a wide receiver. You can just throw a young guy out there, because the offensive line, it matters so much when you're talking about protecting your quarterback. So you got to be smart with kind of how you navigate this situation.
Transitioning out of the offensive line, I want to bring up some things here on Brock Glenn real quick from what Mike Norvell said after the game, talking about his performance. He said, I thought he did a very solid job. He put in a lot of work in his preparation. I appreciated his energy. He showed toughness throughout the course of the game, made some really good plays. Obviously, there's a few, just like in the course of all games, that you would like to have back, but I felt his presence was really good. Very encouraging to the guys, even after a bad play. We also have to make plays around him as well. And we've got to be able to get the run game going and establish to take pressure off the quarterback, and obviously take pressure off the offensive line there in some of those situations with the pass rush. But I thought he did a good job, and we'll have to go back and watch a lot of more of the finer details and just areas where we're going to have to grow and get better. Jordan Travis, after the game, put out a tweet showing some love to Brock Glenn, saying, "Proud as an understatement. That boy just played his heart out. The future is bright, man." So good endorsement there. Big one from Jay Trav, now at the New York Jets, who also just got his head coach fired. But
did he tweet about DJ after any of the games?
I doubt it, because he knows what a good quarterback looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I'm wondering honestly. I don't know.
No,
I'll check. You guys talk. I'll check.
Yeah, no, I don't think so, D-Lou. But yeah, just finishing off from at least this game, Brock Glenn. That's kind of what you try to build things around moving forward with. You definitely feel like you have a chance of winning a few more games, whereas at first it just felt like Charleston Southern was going to be your only chance. But you can see the fight. There's more energy. It's nothing shocking like we were talking about, gentlemen. We were expected to see that kind of energy and communication, man. Like, just seeing that and having some grit and some pride in yourself was just such a relieving factor. I saw a lot of people on Twitter, from FSU Twitter, tweet, this is like a game that I usually would turn off and but I just feel like I know that there's a quarterback out there still trying, and like one that I know is repping the garnet and gold the way that it should be and is going to fight for everything possible. And I think Brock Glenn gives you that kind of hope, that glimmer of something that you can look forward to in 2025. And now you're going to be able to get a lot of playing time for him moving forward, and a handful of these younger guys. And I think there's some more that we want to see. I want to see a lot of BJ Gibson, more of LaWayne McCoy, which we got to see in this game, but time to unleash BJ Gibson. And like we were talking about earlier, Elijah Moore, like there's a handful of guys might not be looking so pretty in practices, D-Lou, but I don't mind it right now. You got to, me and VZ were talking about Kentron, Darion. I'd rather replace these two guys with some younger guys moving forward.
Real quick, no J-Trav tweets about DJ. He's only tweeted about 3 players all year: Brock Glenn, Shaheem Brown, and Ryan Fitzgerald. That's how your season's going, fellas.
There we are.
What do you tweet about Shaheem?
It was just Shaheem, 4 exclamation points and 3 fire emojis. That's it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think Florida State, I mean, you have nothing to lose now by going full youth movement. And like we talked about earlier in the show, you've already seen kind of those early returns when it comes to playing Landon Thomas and playing Amari Moore. You're not getting a lot out of these veteran wide receivers. Malik Benson, he hasn't been as productive as Florida State expected. Ja'Kai Douglas is the veteran I would keep in the lineup. He's probably provided the most juice out there. Hakeem, you're starting to see him come on a little bit more, getting further away from that injury he suffered in the preseason. But then, guys like Darion and Deuce Spann, there's no upside for Florida State and keeping them in the lineup at this point. And Elijah Moore, someone with freakish ability, if he can put it together from snap to snap and continue to progress, he could be a good one for FSU. And LaWayne, he's gotten those reps there at punt return, and that could lead to an enhanced role on offense kind of in the back half of the season. And I think BJ Gibson, in my opinion, he's probably been the best out of those 3 in these practices. And the thing about BJ is he's on the scout team. So, a lot of the time he's out there working against this first team defense, and he's making plays, man. He's really impressive. He had a kind of an up and down day today, but still had a really tough catch where, he got knocked down on the sideline. His helmet popped off, and Mike Norvell came running over there to celebrate with him. But, BJ's getting reps against that first team defense, working with the scout team, Trevor Jackson, some of those younger guys. And after some of those plays, you'll see some of the older guys walk over there. Shaheem Brown, seen it from Fintrell, like walk over there and give BJ a pat on the back and like let him know, they appreciate the work that he's putting in out there. So it says a lot. And yeah, I'd like to see that trio obviously just continue to boost the reps there for the tight ends in the backfield. Cam Davis, if he's healthy, I think he's kind of, still working through some stuff there. But Samuel Singleton finally got to look at Mekhi Danzy. I know he dropped the wheel route, but you saw the speed there in real time.
Yeah.
And
he also looks taller than I expected. Like maybe it was just he looks huge for a running back.
He's long. Yeah, he's long and lanky for sure. Like definitely taller than your average running back. But that speed's no joke. If you can just hold on to that ball, you're looking at a really big play there.
And I mentioned this in the instant reaction. They tried to set that up earlier in the game and ended up dumping off to Landon Thomas, who scampered for like 24 yards or whatever that play was. But it was clearly something they thought they could get on film and just didn't happen.
Well, let me just say that play blew FSU's defense away in practice.
I'm sure it did.
It was a touchdown.
I'm sure it's a touchdown every single time, like it's been all season.
Well, yeah, we'll put the bow on this. There's a bye week coming up, so Florida State doesn't play this upcoming weekend, but a good discussion there on Florida State, what they did trotting out Brock Glenn, and now what moving forward this could look like, and some of these younger guys getting time. But yeah, the offensive line is a wreck that I think is going to take a very long time to fix, sadly, and that's just because of development. At the end of the day, you were able to bring in some strong talent the last few years, but you're not able to suffice with what you have at this moment to help anything offensively. And sadly, your young quarterback that you would like to develop safely. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I think I like what you got with Brock Glenn moving forward, and you got a quarterback room that has some talent in it.
And you got a quarterback that is going to show some fire and passion. Like you weren't getting that before. And I think that that's kind of like that rallying thing for the rest of the guys. Like you want to see your quarterback bring that energy, and when he's doing that, you're kind of forced to match it.
You naturally do in your heart. Like if you had your spring, you had fall camp, you're in the weight room with them, you got all that going on. You guys put in so much work, and you just naturally want to go play. That's how Jordan Travis organically gained so much respect, gentlemen, is because what he put out there on the field. That he didn't even have to say anything, but whenever you saw him out there making those plays, risking his body, getting hit immensely, and then he goes back out there and makes a crazy 3rd and 14 play, most of the time scrambling, using his legs, putting his body out there. Like you just naturally gravitate to where no matter what position group or which side of the ball you're on, you're forced to kind of just go out there and play your heart out when your quarterback's doing it, because that man's on a mission to get a win, and you better be doing the same thing. NFL Noles, gentlemen, NFL Noles. Speak of some guys that always brought some juice. Let's just go ahead and talk about Jared Verse. I mean, didn't get the win for the Rams. They're going through some heartaches over there for Sean McVay and their crew. But just going off of September, he won the Defensive Rookie of the Month. Jared Verse, baby. Jared Verse, man. We have given him so much love before as well, but we've been talking about him actually practically almost on every NFL Noles segment so far on Here the Spear this season. But he has just been a kind of quarterback pressure monster. Once he kind of is able to get to those quarterbacks and grab those sacks, it's going to be fun to watch. Just to see, though, he's excelling this quickly is impressing me. And you can just definitely tell he worked on his body a little bit. I think he's way more in shape, just built wise, and his speed to just the force that he brings for this defense is massive. And I tweeted a play on Sunday where he was on the other side of the edge and came down to the opposite side of the pylon, hauling ass, almost got the tackle, but just full steam ahead, breeding his other defenders over to the player. It's a fun start for Jared Verse in the NFL.
Well, it's like the thing about Jared Verse is he's got the elite athleticism, he's got the frame, he's got the ability, and I think what really makes him special, and obviously Braden Fisk as well, is just their hustle, man. I mean, when they're out there, they are getting after it. There's no loafing, there's no taking a play off, like you just showed, or like you just talked about. That play to get there across the field, and like when you watch that replay, he saw the angle that he had to adjust to take to be able to make that play right there at the goal line. So, I mean, just the way that these guys get after it, man. And that's why, after some of these games, you talk to them in these post-game press conferences and, they're so freaking tired. It's because they put it all out there for 60 minutes every game. I mean, no matter what. I'm sure if they would have played in the preseason, they would have been hustling just as hard. And that's just kind of how they're built. So, it was great first month for Jared Verse, and he's just kind of going to get better from here, I think. And, we'll see if him and Braden are able to get past that rookie wall, obviously playing a lot more football than they did at the college level, and just kind of being so much more taxing, I think, than playing college football. But, man, it's going to be fun to just watch those two guys grow. I know the Rams have kind of struggled a little bit, but when you're looking at a bright spot, you got two of them on that defensive line.
Yeah, well, they're struggling because their offensive line's beat to hell. I think they're already down to like their 4th string left tackle, and I'm kind of worried that Braden Fisk and Jared Verse are just abusing that offensive line in practice. And
probably
they just don't have able bodies to throw out there, because that's really their biggest issue, is just injuries along the offensive line. And for Verse to already be named Defensive Rookie of the Month when he's not even making half of the plays he could be making, tells you how good he's been playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like if he can just get to get a little bit closer, he's bringing the pressure. But if he can start nabbing these sacks, it's really just for the stats. But I'm sure on film, the defensive coordinator for them is having a great time. And just think about too, he didn't have any preseason games as well, along with Braden Fisk. Both of those two didn't play, so things are just getting started a little bit, and that experience is just building so so early on, but super fun to watch right now. Another guy that's really fun to watch for Florida State, former star wide receiver Keon Coleman, 49-yard touchdown grab versus the Texans. We were watching that one closely because we cover the Texans over there and Houston's for Texans game day. So let's keep an eye on this game. Really fun one to watch. Like talking about earlier, the slate was great for Sunday, but had a big catch there and was huge for the Bills. They ended up losing that game, but that was a big momentum shift that got the Bills going in that early afternoon game in Houston. And also in that game too, Cam Akers scored a rushing touchdown and beating the Buffalo Bills. Had a really nice hole. That was some beautiful blocking from the Houston Texans offensive line, but a battle between two Noles, and the veteran gets a dub with Cam Akers.
It was an ugly game for Josh Allen without that touchdown by Keon, which, I mean, Keon basically created that scoring play there. It looks a lot worse for him on the stat sheet. And it was already pretty bad. So, I mean, good to see Keon make that play, obviously. And Cam Akers on the other side, still moving in the right direction since getting back from that second Achilles tear, scoring that touchdown. So former Noles making plays on each side.
I can't believe Cam Akers is still playing, much less still producing. I mean, 2 Achilles tears on a running back should kill a career, and he's still out here doing his thing. Shout out to him.
Yeah, killed yours with that hip. Can't shoot like you used to, VZ.
No, I can still shoot pretty well.
Oh.
I just can't run. That's my biggest issue right now.
Okay. Just shooter. You're just a shooter.
But yeah, think about like the mental aspect of that. Like not just one Achilles tear, but then a second one. And I mean, you're willing to go through that whole process yet again. He had to fight to make the Houston Texans. I mean, he was signed after a tryout. Wasn't a given that he was going to make the roster whenever he was brought on during the preseason. Seizes that opportunity. And now, Texans dealing with an injury to Joe Mixon, has been able to step in there and, I mean, do a little bit there on the field for the Texans. And we're not even – are we at that point where it's a year yet since he tore it?
No, he tore his – ooh, this is really testing me. I want to say it was second week of November last year.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So that's insane. I mean, a year before, or not even a year since the injury, and he's already back out there scoring touchdowns, playing professional football.
And the crazy thing is that's not even his fastest recovery, because his first Achilles tear, he tore it in the offseason and was playing in that year's Super Bowl. Like he's just a freak of nature. It's really all he is.
Fucking fast ass healing there for him. Good healing. NFL parlay to
really
finish off the show. I don't know. I don't know where the F-bomb came from, but I don't either.
I was confused.
I have no idea either, man. I have no idea. I have no clue.
He just saw the latest weather map and is regretting his decision to stay in Tampa.
Yeah, no, I just looked, and we're chalked here. We are going to be on a raft on Wednesday night looking for food and water. Now we got food and water here. We're gonna be all right.
If only you had the option to leave the area. Wow.
Can't. Bridges closed. We're stuck. We're stuck here. Come pick us up. Might have to. Let's jump into some parlays, gentlemen. Let's finish off the show with a winning parlay. I did not list out the ones that we won last week, but we went 4-2. I know that, if I remember correctly from the instant
we got the spread. We got the Klubnik over rushing yards. We got the FSU first possession punt. I forget the fourth one. I forget the fourth one, but I know we missed the Klubnik rushing touchdown, and we missed
some rushing yards.
We missed the over. I think we did film off over, and he doubled what his projection was.
I think we trimmed it too a little bit too. Like that was just easy money. Yep. But I say we do an NFL one. Great weekend of football. I hope it happens again. My parlays have been awful though on the NFL side, so don't. No, we'll see what happens though. Could be different on Here the Spear with 3 guys. What intrigues us the most? Because I'm not going to be watching that 9:30 Jacksonville game. That's atrocious football.
I was about to say the Jags don't lose in London, so I kind of like that plus 1.5.
Coming getting a little hot after their big win last Sunday. You think money line here?
Yeah, plus 1.5 is not worth it. Might as well just go money line.
Money line, okay. Either one.
Yeah, let's go money line there. ML, baby. Good job.
So I'm not good. The Bears aren't as good as their 3-2 record suggests. They are a bad football team.
Yeah.
As long as Eberflus is their coach, they're a bad football team.
Mm-hmm. How about the Washington Commanders this year, gentlemen? And this crazy Jaden Daniels is
And is it
dicing
kind of
people up? Dicing people up. Like he's like really fun to watch. Like I never used to watch Washington Commanders or barely any like kind of Redskins games since RG3, but these are exciting games to watch, and they got a defense that's playing pretty well too.
Well, I don't know about that because that over 52.5 is pretty enticing because the Ravens don't have a good pass defense.
I would say.
Yeah, but the Ravens don't have a good pass defense. The Commanders, yeah. So I kind of like that over 52.5, as crazy as that may sound.
Well, it's good as a player pops in. Let me just make sure these. What's that? I won this last week on the total points for the Commanders. 22.5.
Oh, very easily over.
I like that, and they're saying it's the Ravens, but I mean the Ravens looked
The
bad.
Ravens don't have a good pass defense.
Yeah, and their defense isn't great.
Their front seven's good, but their corners and safeties haven't really been playing well, despite Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey and everyone else they've got.
They just both run the ball so much. Like, you think they'll be able to get to that over 22 because the clock's going to be running.
Well, the Ravens just put up like 35 on the Bengals last week.
Yeah, but the Bengals suck.
The Commanders' defense is not good. I'm telling you.
They were good last week. 7 sacks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's actually
but they were
better
playing
than you think.
They're playing the Browns. At this point, the Browns need to just.
But then Jameis, where's Jameis at?
Did y'all see the Deshaun Watson comment on the Pat McAfee live show?
Potentially.
Where they called him Osama bin Watson. That was
funny. Oh no, I did not hear that.
No, but I did see the insane stat that Deshaun Watson has settled more lawsuits than touchdowns scored for the Cleveland Browns.
Well,
and that number's about to quadruple, I think.
Texans at the Patriots. No, they ain't. I mean, they're gonna have to watch it and cover it.
Wait, who are the Panthers playing?
This weekend of football doesn't seem like it should be fun, but it could be fun.
I forgot who the Panthers are playing, and I feel like easy money is just bet against the Falcons. A touchdown just for I would take the spread on the Falcons.
I kind of like Eagles to score a defensive touchdown against Cleveland.
I don't hate that either.
A defensive touchdown.
This is how you make money.
Yeah, I guess you only got to put down $5 to make.
Or is there like a sack prop bet for the Eagles because they might get 10?
Probably. Let me see. Where did it just go? There it is. Where is like a? They don't have these on here yet. Maybe we're a little early.
It is Tuesday.
We might be early. You just gotta wait till the availabilities come out and everything. Yeah, the Cleveland Browns. What is that? What is just the lines for this? You could go down and trim this alternate spread and go down for Philly.
At that point, it's just not worth the odds. Like, I don't think
that goes from 663 to plus 1100. That makes me.
I guess.
Kind of.
The Eagles are so poorly coached that they're not as bad as the Browns, but
yeah, no, the Browns are awful.
The Eagles make me nervous with Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, this could be one the Browns actually win somehow. Just because the Eagles do something stupid.
I don't know. I wish we could do player prop.
Nick Sirianni will have the choice to kick a field goal to go up. Let's just say 9.
And
he'll go for it, and the Browns will score a touchdown. That's just going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll throw it to Saquon Barkley out of the backfield and lose my bet again.
I think the best game that intrigues me the most, and I'm not trying to be a homer with it because we cover the Buccaneers, but this Bucs and Saints game is going to be huge. Because if
it's a fun game. It's a fun game. I don't know if it's the best game of the weekend.
That's the one that intrigues me the most. Commanders, Ravens, I think
Commanders, Ravens.
Tell you what, I'm going Raiders money line.
Get the fuck out of here. You're on fucking drugs.
Also, 49ers Seahawks. 49ers Seahawks should be interesting.
Yeah. All right, we got to pick one. We got to pick one here.
Ooh, Lions, Cowboys.
We need one. We need one more 4-legger.
Lions -3.
We need a win here. We haven't had a parlay win. We can't do that defensive touchdown. Do that.
Give me Lions. Give me Lions -3 at Dallas. Because if you remember last year, they got screwed on that offensive lineman not reporting eligible when he clearly reported eligible and he caught the touchdown.
Yeah,
they're coming for blood this game.
And I tell you what, if Micah Parsons and Lawrence
isn't playing. I think he's on IR.
Yeah, and Micah Parsons, if he's not fully ready to go, then Jared Goff will dice that shit up all day long.
But at the same time, you got to remember, Dallas, they're coming off a dominating win over Pittsburgh. I mean, just absolutely.
Dominating is the entirely wrong word for that entire game.
I'm ready to go.
I'm just
charging my batteries and
Lions -3. I like that one.
Got to win by more than a field goal.
I think they win by at least 10.
God, that Cincinnati Giants game is going to be disgusting to watch.
Ew. I wish we could do it. Can we do the alternate total on that?
Well, it's like the Bengals have a good offense. They just can't stop anybody. Daniel Jones might go for 300 yards in that game.
I mean, wasn't last week the first time the Bengals have really done anything on offense this season? Like
they've been good on offense all year. They couldn't stop Florida State's rushing game right now. It's been that bad.
Oh my God, it's delicious if you just get it below 54. Regular spreads at 48.5. I love going down here. Now,
I guess they've been better than I thought.
All right, I think this is it. $10 gets you $132.
That's it.
That gets you a lot of batteries.
Gets you a lot of PB&Js.
Exactly what I stocked up on. So what we have here is Jacksonville money line, relying on the London curse.
It's a horrible. I'll get out in front of it. It's a horrible decision, but they don't lose in London.
Easy's the one that Easy's the one that.
This could be 3 weeks in a row that your pick is the one that.
My pick. My pick.
You picked. You picked Lawrence last week.
What?
Didn't you pick Jacksonville?
What are you talking about?
You put Jacksonville in the parlay.
No,
we did college last week. What are you talking
now?
about?
I meant last week you picked Club Nick. Sorry.
To be fair, I said I would rather do Maffa.
Brain is breaking.
I said I'd rather do Maffa, but Club Nick had more touchdowns. That was just right in the momentum.
You overruled.
Keep a guy on this guy.
I said Maffa, and you're
I don't know about that.
Or Club Nick. Sorry.
I don't know about that.
This season's doing mental tolls on us.
Person.
I'm already on the basketball season. ACC tip-offs tomorrow. I don't care about this.
Then give it like 3 weeks in the basketball season. Then he's going to be all relied on the Vikings. Like, I don't give a damn about football or college basketball. I got the Vikings, and we're going to playoffs.
Yeah.
Jacksonville Jaguars money line. That's on VZ there. So everybody watching that game, if we're down, just imagine what we're going to feel like when Dustin wakes up. At probably, since there's no FSU game, he's getting up closer to noon. So he'll wake up to that at the third quarter, and we'll be down in London for the Jaguars. So get ready for that wake up. D-Lou, but then Commanders, I save us and go 22.5 on total points. They've been rolling for me there. And then we're all together here on Falcons to win -6.5, win by a touchdown against the Carolina Panthers. And then Detroit Lions got to win by more than a field goal, at least -3 on their spread.
I'm not loving it.
Damn, D-Lou's not loving it. Well, we're not putting in that defensive touchdown if that's what you're looking for. Do you want to see what it would look like? I don't think. Yeah, it's not on here, so we can't do it. But on regular shows on Wednesdays,
I would have joined him on the defensive touchdown. I love a defensive touchdown.
Yeah, no, it is fun. It is fun, but I'll tell you what's not fun is saying goodbye to everybody. Is getting off this show and saying sayonara.
Hopefully, we see you next week.
I'm gonna be fine. We'll be good.
No bye week instant reaction.
What can
Yeah,
we Benson react to my house?
Yeah, we're gonna need another hurricane story. I mean, you told that emotional tale last week, and I got messages from people watching. They said they were crying, and now you're just like, oh, I'm gonna do it all over again. Yep.
I'm trying to get the viewership up here, gentlemen. We're trying to get the sponsorships loaded in. This is a Q4. This is the best time of advertising. This is time to bring in some sponsorships. So whatever I've got to do, I'll go live on here. If we're getting taken away, we got some rafts down below we can utilize. Picked up a couple paddle boards. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. I'm just glad there is not a game this upcoming Saturday. But really, honestly, if I was without power again, I wouldn't necessarily mind. It's nice to have a bye week every other week.
I'm glad there's not a game this week either way. So
I know you aren't.
Yeah, I know you Arnold can't screw me in fantasy again.
Ooh, damn, that's you. Couldn't be Justin Fields.
I picked him up. Off free agency this week. Played him for the first time this season. Of course, he has his worst game.
Yeah, he's going against the Jets. What do you expect? They have a good defense. And he took a rib shot like in the first quarter, was just never the same after that.
Well, if I see him, I'm punching him right in the ribs.
Good to know.
You won't be seeing him anytime soon, so don't have to worry about that. But yeah, before you leave, hit that like button. If you want that parlay to hit that like button. Not that anybody's probably tailing us anymore after we haven't been able to go full 100%. But if you're riding with us, tail it, tweet us, screenshot or something. Put $5 or $10 on it. See what happens, because we'll put it down in ours, and we'll see what happens. Dustin's laughing because he thinks that we're just making people lose money, but we probably are either way. I mean, I guess we are.
Might as well just donate that $10 to the show, and we can just build a parlay on the show with that money.
And then lose the money. We'll lose the money still. Hey,
if we win some, we'll pay everyone back. Maybe
a little cut. No, get a little percentage cut out of that.
Yeah, like all of it.
Oh man, but yeah, everybody be safe for the storm incoming. A lot of our Tampa Bay Buccaneers game day people. Everybody stay safe. And everybody getting nailed by this thing, of course. Nonetheless, this seems to be the usual thing now. Sucks, but it is what it is. We're gonna have to move to we're gonna have to go cover soccer. We're gonna have to go to Europe. We go to Europe, not even move somewhere else in the country. We're just gonna move to where would you move to, Dustin? If you go to another country, because I know you never would, but where would you move to?
There's a simple answer here.
Hawaii.
Oh,
I don't.
That's not a different country.
Close enough.
Here we go. This is from Will Reed. Logan, I'm a lifelong Tampan. Tampan or tampon? I don't know. Tampan.
Why are we still on this?
I'm trying to figure out if you plan on paddleboarding or rafting at 90-mile-per-hour winds with fast rising water. I have bad news for you. You will probably live, but it will be miserable. We're going to use this. We're using this for the live stream. Got to get the ratings up. So if you see, that's why I say hit subscribe, hit the bell. Never know when it could be going live. Could be the last kind of instant reaction. Might be a quick instant reaction. See, Dustin loves the dark humor too. So, anyways, but we are going to be in Miami. We just booked the Airbnb. We're going to be there for Miami. Me, D-Lou, and Tommy are going to be down there. So, looking forward to that.
Before that, I'll be suffering at Duke in Durham. So,
yeah,
we're going back to the Orange Bowl.
Sure,
for more fun
because it worked so well last time.
Yeah, exactly.
Good food selection, though.
Yeah, no, as long as you have a couple packs of beers, everything's easy to do, and it's more important to be able to hang out with Dustin with enough cases of beer. So we'll see what ends up happening.
That, just in case.
And hopefully not another hurricane wants to come, because our spot's kind of near we're literally near water right there too as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, another one doesn't want to come our way. No, we're staying, D-Lou. I saw some canoes outdoor we can use if we got to escape. You and Tommy take one. I got the other one.
How well you think I'm doing in a canoe, buddy? Not well. Not well.
Have you ever been in one?
A long time ago.
There's no way you've ever been in a boat.
I've been in a boat before, but it was a long time ago. I might have sea legs now.
Paddling.
No, only a driving boat. Why would I paddle?
A driving boat?
What the hell is that?
Are we still live?
Oh, my God. Oh, God. Well, I hope the safety for everybody involved. Try to just get some kind of humor. That's the only way that I can resonate and feel at ease. But yes, be safe. And then we'll talk to you guys next Wednesday back on regular schedule at 7 p.m. But that'll do it. Everybody, we'll see you next week. Peace.